Super Bowl 41, February 4th, 2007, Tony Dungy and his Colts overcoming that 14-6 first quarter deficit to outscore the Bears 23-3 down the stretch, and there he is taking the trophy. Tony remains as one of just 3 men to win a Super Bowl as both a player and a head coach. Hey Tony, let's go back to these issues about putting those that work behind you in a position to win. Because your players wanted to win a championship, for them maybe it became a sell. I don't know how easy or hard that was for you, but the veterans saw the value in preparing the guys behind them that in some cases were nipping at their heels with their objective, I want your job. How in the world did you sell that to these guys?
The big thing is selling that the team comes first and we're here to win, and that's what we always preached. And you want individual drive, you want guys who want to play and succeed, but the important thing was how are we going to be as a team, and if we're going to win we need all 53 guys, and that is something that I learned in Pittsburgh, that you bring those young players along because we're going to need them, and if a veteran guy mentors a younger guy and eventually takes his job, if it makes the team better, we got to be okay with that.
Those new incoming, boy, there can be a set of traditions and customs within the NFL. New guys coming in, time for you to take the shoulder pads off the field, son. And we saw several of our more high-profiled rookies objecting to that, and some obviously willing to do it. As a coach, where do you stand on that?
You know, that was a tradition. I always thought it was a silly tradition, and we never did it. One of the first things I said when I got to Tampa, I said, you know, we're not going to have rookie hazing. Your job as veterans is to help these guys come along. And some of the players, Warren Sapp and the guys that were here, oh, Coach, we went through it, we got to have our turn. But once they realized the idea behind it, that, hey, we've got to become a team as fast as we can, and this sometimes gets in the way of teamwork, we never had any issues with it.
Coach, the list of players that you have been able to lead, it's impressive. Allstott, Brooks, Dunn, Lynch, Sapp, Freeney, Manning, the combination between the Bucs and the Colts. And not just limited to that list, but what players in your mind were the best leaders?
Well, as you mentioned, a bunch of guys who are going to be in the Hall of Fame, but I look at our Tampa team. Derek Brooks, phenomenal leader. John Lynch. Those guys were special. They were vocal leaders. They were leaders in the way they did it. Then a guy like Warwick, who was quiet and hardly said anything, but led in his own way. Peyton Manning, again, leading by example, putting the team first, willing to do anything to help the team win. When your really good players set that tone, it makes it easy for the coach.
Dealing with or acquiring the label the troubled player, what criteria did you use to consider that they were worth the risk?
Whenever we talk to a player with any type of trouble in the past, I always wanted to talk to him face to face and look him in the eye and ask him about being a team player. What would he bring to the table for our team? Would he be willing to play under our rules? And I'd ask him, you know, what do you really want to get out of the game of football? What makes you tick? And sometimes you could get fooled, but most of the time you look at a guy eye to eye and ask those questions, you can tell if he's going to be a team player or not.
When Raheem Morris was hired by the Bucs ownership, they said, this is our guy. He relates with today's player. That being said, what does today's player require that yesterday's player didn't?
Well, so many of today's players are looking for a relationship. They're looking for male relationship that they might not have had growing up with their dad, and they've always gotten it from a coach. And that's what's a little bit different. So many guys coming into the league without that father-son relationship being very, very strong. And I knew my last few years, you know, I got the Bucs job when I was 40. I retired at 53. And hiring guys like Mike Tomlin and Joe Barry, Alan Williams, young coaches who had a little bit more relationship with these young guys and could connect with them. I think that's important for a staff, and I think Raheem does it great.
You just used the term connect. I've heard you refer to engaged. That's the issue right there, is it not? It's about relationship rather than using someone for your own gain.
It really is relationship, and that's the key to it, especially in the National Football League. These players today, they aren't responding to do this, do this, do this because I'm the head coach. You know, they just don't function that way. Get to know them, find out what makes them tick, let them know that you can help them, you can make them a better player, and then it's okay, coach, tell me what to do because I want to be good. And they believe in you, you build that relationship, then it becomes easy.
And coach, how do you establish the relationship? There's a boundary on the friendship to respect that line of coach-player relationship.
I think you build that in. You treat people with respect, and they're going to respect it. I tell a story in the book about my junior high assistant principal coming in and sitting down at the lunch table, and we're like, you know, what's he doing sitting with us? Here? You know, you're the principal. And I remember the first time I came and sat in the sauna in Tampa, in the players' sauna, and this guy's like, you know, what is the coach doing in here? But then when I left 6 years later, Derek Brooks, you know, sent me a note, said, hey, coach, we miss you in the sauna. But we still, you know, we'd talk about all kinds of things in there, and I wanted to find out about families and what was going on in their lives and just connect, as we're saying, build those relationships. And I never worried that, hey, because I sit in the sauna, they're going to think I'm not the head coach. That never entered my mind.
Quickly, we can default to just players on this, but you have invested a lot of time into your coaching assistants. Many of them have gone on and have remarkable success, and your coaching tree expands. From the 6 men that went on to head coaching positions after working under you, all 3 reaching Super Bowls. Tomlin, of course, wins. Smith and Caldwell both lose. 3 rules of thumb, coach, that you would offer today's emerging coach. What would they be?
Same thing Coach Knoll told me in 1981 when I started. The number 1 thing, remember, your job is to help your players play better. Find ways to reach everybody and make that number 1. Number 2, be yourself. Don't try to be Tony Dungy. Don't try to be Jim Caldwell. You're in it because of what God has given you. You've got some special skills, and be yourself. Don't imitate anybody else. And then the 3rd thing Coach Knoll told me, never make a career move based on money.
For the coach that wants to make the greatest impact on someone's life, at what level does that need to be? And I don't mean to exclude the ladies in this particular account, the NFL, college, high school, or is it even younger?
Well, people ask me, do you ever see yourself coaching again? And honestly, I don't. But if I did, it'd be at the high school level. I think the high school coaches have so much impact. When I look back at my life and my career, my junior high coach, my high school coach, directed me at a time when I was still learning what I was going to be, who I was going to be as a person. And you think about it, if you're on the field 2 hours with a player, you're spending more time with him most of the time than his dad does. Dad's working, whatever, they're coming home late. You may spend an hour, hour and a half. You know, you're going to be with those guys. You can influence greatly how young people think. So those high school coaches, I think, have a huge role.
Before we go to break, at what point would you or did you sacrifice winning for the sake of building champions?
I think you learn lessons in winning, you learn lessons in losing. Winning can't be the most important thing. My 2nd year in Tampa, we're having a playoff season. Our kicker, Mike Husted, was going through some problems. His mom had cancer, and she was struggling. Mike was struggling a little bit making kicks. I remember coming in and telling the team, Mike's going to be our kicker. He may miss some kicks, and we're just going to have to pick up the slack, but we're a family, and I don't care how many kicks he misses, he's going to be our kicker. And we lost a couple games in there, but at the end of the year, he made some big kicks for us, and I think that lesson of us being a family carried through to that Super Bowl team.
We've got more with Tony Dungy, including the fatherless. It's a growing issue confronting high school, college, pro coaches, and our communities. The former coach talks fatherhood when we come back.